is Sherryl Lin, and this is UniverSoul Women,
where we're come together to ignite radical cultural change. And I'm Dr. Julie. And this is going to be a different show. Go ahead, Cheryl.
I'm going first. So Julie and I were texting this morning, and I said, let's put this on the back burner. Let's not record today. And she was in agreement, and so I've got my t-shirt on, and I was working out, and I have no makeup on, and she's got her t-shirt on, and she said, let's record a show. I've got a great topic. And I'm like, what the WTF? I'm like, no, we weren't going to record. But she said the topic is really good, and she is called to do it, and she hasn't told me what it is yet. So it's going to be, this is just a spontaneous Dr. Julie and Sherryl Lin, come as you are recording. So what is the topic that you're so pumped up about, Julie?
Well, you didn't tell the part where you made hand gestures at me.
Oh, yeah.
Record.
One of my fingers kind of, but then I also did a heart. I was like a love-hate feeling about recording.
Yes. Well, I don't know that the topic is going to be necessarily as fun as this intro is, because, but maybe we can make it fun. But I just had this huge shift in my awareness last night. And it was really, really big. It was really, really big. And it was different than normal. So I'm going to introduce this by telling you this story. So I was watching a special on TV about Queen, and how what's his name? Adam, their new head guy, Adam. Okay, it'll come to me. But how the passing of Freddie and what that meant. And so they were talking about Freddie's lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And how, because of the work that Freddie did in the music industry, Adam Lambert launched this record at #1 when it happened. And so they're making this big deal about how never before in history has a homosexual been able to do that. And that an openly homosexual person, they didn't even say gay. It was like, well, maybe they did say gay at one part, but Adam Lambert then says, well, I don't talk about it. Like, I don't talk about being homosexual. I just am that. And I just assume everybody knows that. And as he was talking, I just heard this huge voice say, why do we even have to say homosexual, bisexual, transsexual, transvestite, transgender? Why do we even have to say homosexual? Why do we even have to label ourselves that I'm homosexual? Because what happened to me was I heard I'm sexual instead of I'm homosexual or heterosexual or bisexual. Or I heard, why do we label it? Why can't we just be sexual beings? And then, of course, then all this old stuff of my sexual shame came up and out. Like, it was shameful to be sexual even. Why are we even talking about this natural, sacred part of who we are as human and have to label it? So how do you like that for a surprise topic?
Kind of interesting, timing wise. And it's funny, you missed one, asexual too.
Asexual,
like, not everyone kind of relates to the idea of being sexual even though literally the way our biology works, we are sexual, whether we have what we label sexual feelings. But I just was at this women's retreat for this past weekend, and it was called the Alchemy of Desire Radical Transformation Weekend for Women. And we talked about our sexuality a lot. It was a big part of it, and shame and how we repress who we are, or that we have these desires, not just sexual desires, but as women, how we repress our desires out in the world because we think that they don't have value, or that we don't have a right to feel the way that we do, however we feel. Right? It's not even about right or wrong, or this is the norm, and so everyone's got to be in the normal lane. It's really about how we have this expansive capability of having a human experience, and it includes all sorts of different choices and flavors of human, right? And why do we judge things as being good or bad, or having to label it, as you
Or
said?
normal, or not normal,
Right.
or right, or wrong.
Right.
Why are we doing that? Back in the day, homosexual, oh my gosh. Really? I'll tell you a story. This is a true story. I had a client several years ago, decades ago, okay? So I've been in this business for 33 years, working with people. And this client, her son came out as gay in college.
Mm-hmm.
And she was mortified. And she literally cut him out of her life and didn't want anything to do with him. And so I began working with her, and I had worked with her prior to this. So I'd worked with her and the family, I'd worked with the kids, I'd worked with the family. So I knew her. So she came back into therapy, and her reaction was, this is why she came in. She cut him out of her life. And the bottom line was, if I love him in this way and condone this, I will go to hell.
Wow.
That was her fear. If I condone this behavior, I will go to hell.
Deep conditioning there.
Deep, deep, deep. It was so deep. And the thing that really kind of helped move it along was she wasn't getting help from her faith tradition. She wasn't getting help from her spiritual leaders. Well, actually, she was. She was being reinforced with that by her spiritual leader.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called in another spiritual leader from the same denomination. So it wasn't like someone outside that wants to convert you to be something else or to have a different belief. It was the leader of the same church, same denomination. And I called him in and I said, let's have a conversation. And the bottom line was he did this cool thing. He's like, God doesn't have a hierarchy of sin. Now, I'm not saying that this is sin. So let's just let that go. And we're not saying that now, but this is how he shifted it for her. He said, I don't think God has a hierarchy for sin. He doesn't say anywhere. There's nothing in the Bible that says this is worse than this, which is worse than this. He doesn't have a hierarchy. So if it doesn't say that murder is worse than homosexuality, and he said, do you gossip? And he brought in the different verses that talk about gossiping and how it's not okay to gossip. And so he took a hierarchy off of our human condition and our behaviors and said, then he brought in of course, love one another and da, 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 da. But literally, she was conditioned to reject him. And we know that still happens today. It still happens.
Yeah.
So how do we create radical cultural change with this? Like, I'm on fire about it, and I'm not gay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have anyone close in my life that's gay. I've had lots of clients. But why do we even have to label our own sexuality to other people? Nobody needs to know if I'm heterosexual, bisexual, asexual, homosexual. Nobody, does anybody really need to know that? Why is it a label?
Well, I think, having, I mean, I guess the label that I've given myself is bisexual, at various times. And it was to differentiate, I had a lot of lesbian friends when I was in my 20s, and it was to kind of to differentiate myself from them. It's like, well, no, I'm not saying that it's just, like I'm just going to be with women or I'm just going to be with men or whatever. It's like, so, but the labeling is kind of like a backlash in some ways, and I think it's different for everyone. But what I noticed is it was important for some of my friends to have that label because they had been rejected or they'd been criticized if someone found out. And the way that someone finds out could be something as simple as, they're walking down the street and because they're with their partner, they want to hold their hand. And all of a sudden then they're under attack. They're not really talking about who they go to bed with. They're literally talking about who they love. I love this woman. And it's so interesting because women can walk down the street and, be arm in arm, hold each other's hands, even, kiss each other. And it's like, people don't even think, oh, they're gay, unless they're being overtly sexual with each other. But even that, I think we tend to let's try and figure it out. Let's figure it out. Are they like a couple or are they just friends? And where this whole separation thing comes in, I'm kind of going all over the place. So it's because you surprised me with the topic. I get to think about it. No, I'm sorry. But I think that part of it is like feeling like the need to label and take a stand and say, this is who I am. And if you don't like it, too bad. And I'm going to proclaim it loud and proud. And I think that happens with a lot of things, not just sexuality. If you've been repressed and pushed down and you have the opportunity to say, you know what, you're not going to put me down anymore. This is who I am. If you don't like it, too bad. And so there is a little bit of a deflecting judgment and deflecting repression that, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to have that feeling of pride in who you are. It's so limiting. And I think that's the thing that we forget, that it's really limiting to put yourself in a box, even, saying I'm bisexual. I'm in a relationship with a man, it's like, do I need to say that? My primary love relationship is with me. And so do I need to say I'm bisexual? Like, who cares? Like, this is my relationship. This is who I'm with right now. The rest of it doesn't really matter. I don't feel the need to walk around saying that, but some people do. And I think that that's okay too. I think the problem is when the label ends up attracting the label itself ends up attracting a lot, stirs people up, right?
Well, I think there's a lot of fear around things we don't understand. And so I think that labeling has been an attempt to help people understand in a way. And yeah, you're right, taking that oppression and repression back and saying, this is who I am. But quite literally, it's created a lot of damage even. Like, it allows more separation. It allows me to put you in a box and not give you a job. It allows me to put you in a category and not make a wedding cake for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm really I'm really angry about this one, but it's the same thing as our race and our religion and our gender. It's like we have labels. So, you know, you get on an airplane and you see someone with olive colored skin and you go, are they a terrorist? Where are they from? They might be American born. They might be like, you know, like we're talking because we're both in the United States right now. But like, why do we even have to categorize?
You know, in some ways it is changing. I remember when a friend of mine, it was during the early stages where more and more transgender people were coming out, young people. And and you know, a friend had a child who was, you know, came to her and said, you know, I'm not actually the gender I was born with. And I remember thinking, like, I wonder how I would feel if my daughter came to me and said that. And so I was talking to my daughter about it, and I said, you know, it's, you know, I've been just thinking about it. Like, how would I actually feel? And she was like, what, you know, who cares? Like, what's the big deal if I did or didn't? And she started pointing out several of her friends or people that she knew or that we knew in common who were around her age who were clearly androgynous. Like, they just, I never really had thought about it, like that there was like in it all of a sudden seemed like it was this a certain type of her friends that were really androgynous, and two of them had transitioned to the opposite sex, right? And she said, can you say, like, it's almost like, so they came in to, like, what if they came into and I think we talked about this on another show, what if they came in to their physical body, looked at their organs and their makeup and said, that doesn't feel like me. Like, I don't identify with this. And so then they think that they have to be, well, if I'm not a woman and I have these, or, you know, then I must be a man. Like, what if they're not? What if they're just them and they have whatever parts they have and they can express it however they want? You know, like, we have this thing where this pressure to identify with something. And I believe it is changing. And I think the transgender, the increase in transgendered young people is helping with that change. It's like, I feel like they're here to help us, like, broaden our perspectives on what it means to be human, you know, and what it has nothing to do with it. Like, whatever you can come in with, or, you know, if you want to change it, or if you want to change your hair color or get all these piercings or not do that, or, you know, it's like you get to decide, you know, how you're going to express yourself in your human form.
So it brings in two other layers for me. Number one, the first layer, and then it'll lead to the second layer. The first layer being, if we learned to accept our feminine and masculine sides, and we didn't live in a patriarchal world that is dominated. I had this, wow, this turtle dove came and just was like hovering by the window, like just hovering, like just holding right there just now. Not like hit the wall and fall, but yeah, that was cool. Turtle dove. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, so gender and our masculine and feminine. Mm-hmm. That for so long, the feminine energy, along with women, has been repressed, like you talked about. Mm-hmm. Repressed and oppressed, so that this masculine way of being in the Western world has been dominant, right? And so just thinking about that system of our conditioning that's generational, that's like, it's been around for centuries. So if we would accept the feminine and the masculine within each of us and balance, we've had other conversations about that, but if we could from a very young age balance and teach the masculine and feminine, as a part of all of us, of who we are,
Mm.
then that could take some of the tension away from, are you this or are you that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which then leads me to this other layer underneath, which is why I was bringing it forward today, was that, can it just be okay to be sexual?
Mm.
Now, I'm not saying recklessly sexual, dangerously sexual, and some people have the right to do that. I mean, you have the right to be reckless and dangerous with sex.
Mm-hmm.
There are consequences to that, and I don't advocate that. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm not saying it's everybody's right to express however they want to express. But what about just culturally being in acceptance?
I don't know why I'm feeling called to make a comment about your dangerous. And what was the other thing?
Go for
Dangerous.
it. What did I say? Reckless and dangerous.
Because even that is a judgment, like something that you might consider reckless or dangerous, or I might consider reckless or dangerous. Someone else might not even think of it that way. It's just another expression of themselves. I mean, if they're hurting someone.
That's what I'm talking about. Reckless and dangerous is hurting someone, which reckless, obviously, if you have a sexually transmitted disease and you're out to infect as many people as possible, or if you're raping, there's a lot of
All right.
people. So let's just clarify that. It's not okay to hurt other people, period.
Okay.
We embrace being sexual beings.
Mm.
I think this is a part of this radical cultural change for women really stepping in. And we're talking about universal women here. And part of it is rebalancing our masculine and feminine, being whole beings. And when we're whole, we are sexual beings.
Mm.
When I've had 3 children, where did they come from?
Did you had immaculate conceptions?
3 of them. Yeah. But I carried a lot of sexual shame because of my sexual wounding, because of sexual abuse from my early childhood. And so it wasn't okay for me to be sexual, and it wasn't okay to be in my body. It wasn't okay for me to love my body. I mean, that's an old wound that we all need to heal. But as universal women, what if we stepped out and we didn't have to label any of this anymore? We just are healthy and whole. What a concept. We don't look at birds, and there were some on the line that were mating and doing their mating call, and they jump over to the line and the other one jumps away, and they're doing their mating call, their mating dance. We don't look out in nature and we go, oh my gosh, they're having sex.
Right.
Terrible cows out there, terrible dogs, terrible cats, whatever. We don't do that.
Well, not most people don't, although you're reminding me of a time I went to the zoo with my then sister-in-law, and her kids were, I think her son was like 5 or 6 or something, and we're going through the exhibits, and we get to the giant turtles, and they were mating, and she did not want him to see it, and I was like, really? Like, there's ways you could just normalize it. But she's like trying to steer him away from it, and he wants to look. It's like it was the next exhibit. Piggyback ride, And she could have said anything, but it was interesting. Not everyone is comfortable even with that. Animals.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't grow up around animals either. Like if you have a pet in the home, they're probably not sexual because there's one pet.
Right. Although a cat likes to hump the blanket.
Your cat does?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make him go outside when he starts doing that. I'm like, Yeah, it's everywhere. I mean, I think sexuality in general, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, have you ever looked at like what do they call it? The close-up pictures of flowers and how they reproduce, and the parts of the flowers, and they're like totally sexual, and it's more obvious with certain plants than others. how they produce.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like you have the stamen and like a gorgeous orchid or lily or, oh my gosh, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
just look at our yoni and say, how beautiful. The woman's body down there is so beautiful.
And we talked about that a lot in this workshop that I did, because it's very like amazing, even the most evolved, spiritually evolved women, just there's certain things where I get a little uncomfortable, like and I'm pretty open and we'll talk about just about anything, as you know.
Yeah.
But sometimes I get uncomfortable when someone's very like out there with their language, and talking about sexuality and because I was raised, like we've talked about before, I'm to be a good girl. Good girls don't talk like that. And it's very liberating to say, let's take these, unless you're on TV where they're gonna beep you out, just say it like it is, right?
I think that I think we are raising more daughters who are comfortable in their skin. I'm just speaking for me. I know your daughter's more comfortable in her skin too. I think that the younger generation is kind of saying, okay, but this labeling thing, which is also, like I said, we have to label religion and race and nationality, and we're the labeling thing is just creating more separation that creates fear. And wouldn't it be nice to just say, wow,
I think it takes us being brave. Like we have to be brave and put ourselves out there. I was telling a story to this woman about, I used to have this boutique, this plus size boutique, and in the back there was a size acceptance resource center. And one of the things that I did was I wore, not every day, but a lot, I wore this purple cat suit. So it's a one piece, stretchy, yoga pant material, purple. And, it just had thin straps. And I weighed 250 pounds then, around there. I was a big gal. And my belly was hanging out there for everyone to see. It hugged every curve. I've always been large chested and, my boobs were out there. And I can honestly say, and I've yo-yo dieted and been all different weights, my adult life, I felt more comfortable in my body then than any other time. Well, other than childhood probably, because I wasn't thinking about it. But I felt so comfortable because I decided that it doesn't matter whether I gain a pound or lose a pound. This is the body I have right now. And the essence of me is right here. Like it never goes anywhere. And so what would happen if I exposed myself and just was out there in all my glory, And what happened was it was a little uncomfortable at first. I definitely felt very exposed. But when women would come into this shop and see me like that, they would tell me like, thank you for inspiring me to love myself, to feel good about who I am, and like you are such an inspiration. So I got positive feedback for doing it, and then I got more and more used to it, and I was like, but slowly over the years I've been more self-conscious again, and I noticed as I'm getting older, things kind of move into different areas, and my belly, I was feeling very like I wanted to hide my belly the other day. Like, okay, I'm going to wear like a big tent shirt, and just because I was feeling so uncomfortable with it. And I thought, well, what would it be like if I just loved it? And just like, I doubt the people in my life currently are going to like say anything about it, but people are going to judge me no matter what weight I'm at. Why not just like be right here, right now? So, and then there's the things that aren't so visible. Like if you identify as gay, you could hide and get away with it. You could wear your etheric big tent around you and hide your gayness, just like I could hide my belly, but more easily you know, like people can tell what size I am. It doesn't matter how big my clothes are. But you could do that. And I know a lot of people that do that, you know, and it's like, stop hiding. And that's the only way to change it, is to take the brave step and say, I'm going to put out there who I am. You know, even in this video, I checked in with myself. Do I like put that label on myself of bisexuality? Like, because I don't walk around saying I'm bisexual. I don't label myself at all in that way. But for the purpose of our conversation, that felt like an important thing, because there was a time I did label myself that way. And it was a step for me. It was a step into being free to just be myself, you know. So,
well, thanks for being brave.
Thanks for being brave and bringing up the topic.
Well, you're welcome. And thanks for letting me. I'm going to do a little more work on it myself, because I think it's an important piece. And I think as Universal Women, I think you're right. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to be proud of who we are. But really, let's be more discerning when we're trying to label one another, because I think, we are creating just more. And if we're doing it in a way that it's full acceptance, I am a blah, 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 blah woman, all of these things that describe me. But wouldn't it be better to describe the essence of who we are? I'm an artist. I'm a teacher. I'm a speaker. I'm a healer. Wouldn't that be the nice labels to have? I don't know. Anyway.
Nice. I mean, I think we get to play with all of it. We can try on. I mean, it instead of being so serious about it, we can try them on, because it might be our, even having the label of, healer, or like, it's just like a coat to put on. Like, oh, I mean, I love playing dress up. Like, why not have the label of, and see how that feels with that? Because the essence of us, I don't think we're able to describe it in words quite the way that we can just emanate who we really are.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a label of being gay, or of being, trans, or of being whatever, and you want to mix up your pronouns or whatever, it's like, just do it in the place of, I am free to be me. I'm not trying to prove anything, or, try to change people's minds, but just like that sense of freedom, like you are totally free to be who you are. And that even includes being, doing things that that may be seriously judged by people, and there might be consequences for that. Someone I know who's close to me in my family, I won't say who it is, it has been doing like street graffiti. And I said to her, that's fine. It's your expression. But if you get arrested, like, are you okay with going to jail? You might go to jail or have to pay a really big fine. If you're okay with that, then okay. Like, who am I to say that's not a correct path or a nice thing to do? It's up to you. So that we have that freedom too. So
that's
also
the free to be me part, the free to be me. And I do that a lot. I wrote in my book, I am conservative and I am liberal. I am, and I just went into like holding the tension of the opposites. I can hold both.
Yeah.
I'm not this or that, I'm all.
Yeah.
And so I think that is this consciousness piece, but thank you. I'm free to be me.
Yeah.
So it's like in the whole of everything, we get to be whatever we choose, and we get to change. We can change our mind.
Mm-hmm.
And we can, allow that to evolve. So anyway, we are out of time. Thanks for playing with me on this one.
It's kind of fun. Yeah, good.
And I just want to remind listeners, you can find out more about how to get to our videos below. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you think about this one. Share, please. We love to engage with you in the conversation, and we're so happy you joined us. So for that, I guess we'll say bye for now, right, Sherryl?
Bye.
All righty. Bye for now.